Hey everybody, it's Carm here, coming to you on a fairly cool July morning. Uh, Took a bit of a unexpected break from doing this series. Um, I know over the years I've mentioned my grandpa at various times in videos. Uh, well, last month he left, he passed on at the age of 94, just short of turning 95. Uh, Lived a long, incredible life. An incredible person. I couldn't say enough things about him. Incredibly vibrant, uh, you know, alive, energetic, sharp, uh, industrious, funny. I mean, I could go on and on, but I wanted to do this in dedication to him. Um this particular set of albums. Uh, I know I'd done a video a few years back. I'd shown some cassettes that he had given me. I had a little shopping bag full of tapes, um, and I'd showed them in a video, and I hadn't even listened to them yet, and people were, commenting on the various types that were in there. There was easy listening, and Italian crooners, and I think there was some opera too, which he loved, all that music. But he also loved piano music, and even sometime in the last year and a half or 2 years, he took lessons. He had an upright at home, and him and his caregiver who was living with him, they took lessons together, and it got to be pretty good, actually. And yeah, I want to focus on some piano-centric albums, which I believe he would have really liked. And I know one of which, for sure, a portion of it I'd played for him years ago. My grandparents, together they had a home up in just on the border of Illinois and Wisconsin, country home on the Illinois side. And for many, many years, we'd all visit them, usually in the summer. It was a summer home for a long time, and then became their full-time home after he retired from the city in the late 90s. And I'd stay with him for extended periods. And when you were visiting him, he always put you to work, which was always a pleasure, an honor to work with him, and just do whatever was needed. And yeah, I remember, it must have been 30 years ago now, I played one of my Starstreams tapes for him, and there was a part when a piano came in, and he was commenting how beautiful it was, and I had to backtrack, and I was pretty positive what it was from, the album it was from, and it was this, Michelle Sell, Circle Around the Moon, 1989 on Moon Circle Records, which I believe is her own label. There she is there. Primarily a harpist, but also plays piano, other keyboards. David Darling, the late great artist, is on here. I've mentioned before, he's one of those people that you never knew where he was going to show up on an album. And the album does have kind of a, what you would expect from his playing, kind of somewhere between like Kay Gardner, Doa, Oregon, in that territory. Jazzy, as well as ethnic music, a little bit of modern classical. Now, the piece that I had heard from the show that I had played for my grandpa is called Three Sisters, which is Michelle solo, harp, piano, and synthesizer. It starts in with just solo piano, kind of rumbling of thunder, and solo piano just kind of emerging through the mist. A kind of a stately, kind of hymnal quality to it, which in hindsight is appropriate enough, being that Grandpa, he was very much a very religious churchgoer, Catholic, and it had kind of started off with that feel with the solo piano, and then her harp comes in and plays that same melody, and it just kind of repeats with minimal variation, but just a really beautiful, atmospheric, somewhat dark, wistful piece, but just had a very I think it fitted perfectly too, that we're out in the country, and it just it's just a real nice blend. And the fact that he commented on it so long ago, I mean, I still remember it from when I think I was just going into high school. And I don't think I'd ever really played anything for him from my own collection, as I was just getting into music, collecting and, the obsession and everything. So that he commented on it and it resonated with him, that always stuck with me. So I knew from then on to play, more piano-centric stuff for him, over the years. So, and yeah, this album's really, again, a nice blend of different styles, kind of chamberish, sort of, it would fit on a label like Narada or, something similar. So yeah, Michel Sell, Circle Around the Moon. Next up, something I don't ever remember if I played this for him, but I believe he would have liked this. Sedona Suite, Tom Barabbas. It's on the Soundings of the Planet label from 1992. Another one, a mixture of piano, acoustic piano and keyboards, inspired by Tom's visits to Sedona. He's a Hungarian keyboardist, born in the mid-30s, close friend and collaborator of Dean Evenson, one of the founders of Soundings of the Planet. And this album overall has a real strong European classical feel throughout, which you might expect from some of the titles, and kind of goes somewhere between romantic, Debussy, even touches of Baroque here and there. The first piece is very romantic, more than words. You're just kind of emerging onto the landscape, just discovering it for the first time, and kind of falling in love with the area. It has that feel to it. Free Spirit is gorgeous, and that's one of two cuts. This is actually a featured album on the show, kind of as a centerpiece, and this has a very almost as kind of a Baroque feel to it, but but also warm and romantic, primarily piano. Same with Moon Dust and Sedona Suite. It goes into various moods, more upbeat as well as a little more pensive. And also Dean Evenson plays flute on there, rather jazzy, kind of adds a little more jazz and improvisation to the whole mix overall. Now, Sonata in G minor is another piece that was featured on the show, and it's just my personal favorite piece of Tom's. Absolutely gorgeous, and as I've said about certain music, it's hard to listen to it with dry eyes. It's really very, very moving, and I guess appropriately enough, it's kind of a mixture of kind of the elegiac and the celebratory, just in a perfect perfect mix simultaneously, and just beautiful. Sonata in G minor, and the rest of the album kind of goes a little more synth-oriented, synthesizer, but still very, very reflective, and kind of another side of one's impressions of coming across a new place. Inner piece has some nice nylon string guitar. It's played by Vince Cooper. It was really nice. There is some connection with, both my grandparents in Sedona. I think it was for their 50th wedding anniversary back in the 90s. Family had sent them on a trip, kind of like a cross-country, kind of like a charter bus trip, I believe. And they went through Arizona and into Sedona, so they remember, over the years they'd remember the area very well, and the impressions it made on them, and it was very powerful. As I've visited for many years myself, and it's an incredible place, and Tom captures it really, really nicely, very evocatively, and all the emotions that come from visiting, and when it's time to leave, which is always hard. It's such a beautiful place and has such incredible energy, but he captures it very lovingly on here. Tom Barabbas, Sedona Suite. And finally, here's something I hadn't listened to in a very long time, and old favorite from Hearts of Space, Music to Disappear In by Raphael. I can't recall his full name, but he's gone under the name Raphael for many years. piano and keyboards. I almost like this as the cover a little more. He's described as being one-third Antonio Vivaldi, one-third Will Rogers, and one-third Edgar Casey. Very neat combination there. Now this starts off, this first piece I think my grandpa would have really liked. Disappearing Into You, traditional, arranged by Raphael. Mostly solo piano with kind of a light, transparent synthesizer string accompaniment, but mainly piano, just kind of a very melodic, cascading feel. Again, the kind of similar in some ways to Sedona Suite, a perfect equilibrium between the elegiac and the celebratory. It manages to be both at once, without, the emotion, captures the emotion you're feeling all at once. It's not one or the other, it's really both. And again, kind of also has that hymnal feel, just very kind of an exaltation without being too grandiose, but just gorgeous and very much hard on one sleeve. Does a couple of versions of Faré's In Paradiso, which has kind of like a harp-like sound he gets out of the keyboard. Very melodic and dreamy, impressionistic. Resurrection is, to me, one of the most powerful meditative pieces. You don't think of a meditative piece as being intense, but it has a quiet intensity about it. It's perfectly titled Resurrection. Very much a feeling of being pulled upwards, ascending. All synthesizer, string synthesizers going at different pitches and timbres, and just the way it washes over you. It's just, you kind of surrender to it, but it's very, very powerful. I mean, I listened to it several times. It's one of those pieces, it's just under 8 minutes long, but if it could have been extended to, a half hour or 40 minutes, it would have been even better. Just very powerful. And the second half of the album mostly gets into a little bit more, you'd say kind of like a world fusion, but at a very slow tempo. A little more percussion comes in. They think of it as being kind of divided in a way on the album, although it's a seamless blend from kind of more impressionistic keyboards into, more percussive music from around the world. It's a piece called I Say Rock and Roll Prayers to a Dancing God. It's not really rock and roll at all, but you could hear maybe it's kind of calling back to the past in a way and kind of bringing it along with you. But again, in that very kind of an impressionistic style. But beautiful. If you like piano and keyboards that just run very deep. The album's extremely emotional throughout. He also did a sequel to it, Music to Disappear Into, which is similar and I think even goes further into Eastern influences. But I know this first piece, as I was listening to it, it made me think of Grandpa and what he would have liked, with it being piano. So Raphael, Music to Disappear In. So I just wanted to come on and do these. I wasn't sure what I was going to do next as far as the series, and then decided this had to be it. And again, there's so much I could say about what my grandpa meant to myself and the family. It's again honored to be to come from him, in a sense. And I was even named after him, actually. He's the original Carm. And he influenced and inspired me more than I could express. And I'd like to share something, like a little story. There's so many memories, from all over the years, and swirling around. It's like, how do you even pick one? But I want to share one that stands out from maybe 11 or 12 years ago. It was in the autumn. I was visiting him. I think I was just visiting him alone for maybe a weekend. And gorgeous autumn day. I had that kind of luminescent, kind of silvery bluish sky, the kind of sheen to it. And we're outside raking leaves together, you know, right behind his house. And it was those moments where, you know, we had so many great talks over the years, but here was a moment where we were saying very little. We were just raking the leaves and just kind of soaking up the moment and doing it in very different ways. As he was raking the leaves, he was doing kind of very rapid, you know, here's a pile, here's a pile, just kind of all business, you know. Whereas here I am raking, slowly swaying with the breeze, you know, going at my own kind of languid, daydreamy pace. And as I was doing it, I was kind of noticing the differences in approach we were taking, and I'm thinking, I wonder what he's thinking. But he never said anything. You know, he didn't say, you know, you should do it more like I'm doing it, or, you know, the job was getting done and he was happy with that. And I think he also recognized that this, perhaps, you know, he recognized that it was a really neat moment, just the two of us, you know, bonding in that way. But also a reminder that even though we're even being roughly 50 years apart, he was still working circles around me, you know, in that way, as he did around just about anyone else. You know, when he was doing something, he was really got right into it. So, but yeah, that's just one memory that stands out, and yeah, among so many others, I'll always cherish it. So yeah, I just wanted to do this in dedication to him, and yeah. So I hope we're all doing as well as possible. I'm not sure when I'll be back. Hopefully sooner than later, but you know, you never know. But yeah, hope you're all having a nice summer, whatever you've been doing, and well, till the next one. Peace, love, and joy.